Today I want to cast a bronze knife, so to do that I'm going to start with my mold, or my casting flask, and what you got right here is a bucket of green sand, which is nothing more than a combination of really fine sand and bentonite clay. Once it's mixed up, grab a handful and squeeze it together. If it breaks apart clean, you're good to go. There's my aluminum knife that we cast before in my previous video. I went and took the handles off of it, placed it inside my casting flask, and right now I'm going to take my green sand and I'm going to add a 1-inch lift all the way around that. Approximately 1 inch thick of material. Then I'm going to grab my 2x2 and I'm going to pound it all the way around. This will give the impression of that knife in 1/2 of that casting flask. Now I'll repeat the process over and over again and then scrape off the casting flask and flip it over. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and scrape it off using the sawing motion all the way to the opposite end. Wipe off the excess and flip it over. There's your knife. I'm going to take my finger right now. I'm going to trace around the edges of that knife and basically dig it out. The reason why I want to do this is so when I place my second half of my casting flask on there, I can go ahead and get a top impression for that mold. So I have two halves that make a whole. Alright, we're good to go. At this point right here, I'm going to grab some baby powder and lightly coat the mold. This way, when I put my second half of my casting flask on there and I get my top impression, the molds won't stick to each other. Get a nice coat on there, grab a brush, in this case a toothbrush. All I'm going to do is gently wipe off the excess. It should be good to go. Fast forward a little bit, the second half of my casting flask is in place. You notice there's in place using 4 screws. I also have a dowel, that wooden dowel right there. Grab my green sand, place it once again in 1-inch lifts all the way around. I want to make sure I take my 2x2 and pack it all the way around, especially around that dowel. The dowel is very important. Try not to move it, keep it securely in place, because once you remove that dowel, you're going to pour your molten material down that hole and it will fill your mold. Now this next part right here is optional. Some people choose to scrape off the top portion of their casting flask and some do not. I do it because it looks nice and neat, and ultimately because sloppiness breeds inefficiency. From here, lift the top portion of the casting flask straight up, flip it over, go ahead and grab your wooden dowel and gently twist it back and forth and remove it from that hole. This portion right here is critical. Use whatever means or methods necessary to remove that knife without disturbing the bottom portion of your flask. Once it's been removed, you're going to carve a trough or a gate next to where your dowel used to be. This allows the molten material to fall down that hole and travel through that gate and fill up both forms of your casting flask. Now it's time to make your bronze. Keep in mind there's several ways to make bronze. There's 20, 30 different recipes. For this one right here, I'm going to keep it very simple. There's a scrap copper pipe. There's your molten copper. From here I'm going to go ahead and throw in some tin and a little bit of lead. And the mixture ratio percentages are probably about 80% copper, 15% tin, followed by 5% lead. Copper's melted, guarantee that the tin and lead are going to melt within seconds. Now we got our crucible out. I'm going to go ahead and pour it into my casting flask. Fill it all the way up. It should be good to go. And boom, there's your bronze knife. Check out the colors on that bad boy. You flip it around. Now the beauty is, all you got to do, chop off the excess. It's harder than copper, harder than aluminum, but you can still clean it up using a basic carbon steel file. And yes, that's rain that you hear. Why? Because it rains all the time. There's a close-up. We can clean it up. Should be a nice golden polish to it. Chop off the excess. It should be good to go. Here's the knives side by side. There's the aluminum template. There's the bronze knife. We'll get these things cleaned up. I'll take it out to the field and see what it can do. Thank you for your comments, views, support. Thanks for watching. Get out in the woods, have some fun, and I'll catch you next time.